So I teach a course here at Cabrini College called Feminist Theory and Gender Studies. And I became interested in this course. Really, I mean, it's sort of a long time coming. As an undergrad, I was an English major and I took courses that related to women's studies and different theoretical courses. So I took a special topics class on queer theory, which is a specialized branch of theory within the field of the English discipline. I also took a course on Toni Morrison, one of my favorite authors, which really raised a lot of different issues about race, class, and gender. And then as I pursued my master's and my PhD, I continued to really focus on race and gender throughout my years. I took several courses on fem theory, on race, on African American literature. I even took courses in sociology to complement my English degree, a course in the sociology department on gender. So I've always really been interested in these issues, and as I've developed the women's studies concentration here at Cabrini, it was really natural to create a course that is just a foundational course on feminist theory. That really is just a crucial part of understanding women's studies is understanding the theory throughout the ages and the different schools of thought, whether it be the French feminists or different third wave feminists, gender theorists. Seems to be just a really important part of what we do in this discipline. The reading material for the course was a one book that was an anthology of just really classic fem theory pieces. And then another text that we used was a book called My Gender Workbook by Kate Bornstein. That book is a theoretical book, but it is very different from the fem theory anthology in that it is a workbook. So it is a book that is meant to engage you as a reader, where you're answering quizzes and you're being forced to kind of go outside of your comfort zone a little bit to think about gender in ways that maybe you never had previously. I actually was first taught the book as a student, as an undergrad. When I was at West Chester, a professor assigned me this book and really revolutionized the way that I think about gender. And so I know what an impact it had on me as an undergrad, and continue to study that book and use it throughout graduate school. When I first came to Cabrini and developed the Fem Theory course, I used that text in addition to the anthology of feminist theory. And then this time around, teaching the course for the second time, the book is actually in its second edition. So it's now slightly different than the book that I used many years ago as a student, but it's updated, and it needs to be, because things have changed since the 90s when the first edition was written to 2013. So thrilled to be able to teach this new book, this new edition rather. And in addition to that, the author, Kate Bornstein, she lives in New York, and she has actually been in touch with me both via email, Twitter, and phone, and has offered to answer questions that the class has throughout the semester, which was great. And we did have some questions. We were able to ask her and engage her. So that's a really kind of neat thing when you're reading a text of an author who's still alive, as opposed to reading a text that was written, a century ago. And then to answer your final question, which is about sort of, an injustice as it relates to feminist theory and gender studies. And really, for me, the biggest injustice is when people are not treated with dignity and that they're not treated like humans. And I really, really strongly believe that, there needs to be equity in this world, and that no matter who you are, if you identify yourself as a man or as a woman or something in between, and whether you identify yourself as heterosexual, homosexual, or something totally different than those binaries, that you deserve to be treated with dignity. I believe that every human being, regardless of your culture, your race, class, gender, ethnicity, sexual orientation, your faith, whatever things identify who you are, that regardless of those things, you deserve to be treated with dignity.